topic was about communication and management. What is the role of communication in management? First, it provides clarity. Confusion, uncertainty, and ambiguity make people uncomfortable and uncooperative. Second one, it builds relationships. A culture that promotes open communication reduces tension between hierarchical levels of employees, both professionally and socially. Third one, it creates commitment. Effective communication involves not only sending information but also receiving it. By listening to employees' concerns, allowing them to have input on their work and their workplace, and giving consideration to their suggestions, managers can make everyone in the organization feel like they are valued contributors. Last one, it defines expectations. When people are uncertain about what is expected of them and how they will be evaluated, they can't do their jobs well. Performance reviews are difficult because the employees does not know the performance standards that they are expected to meet. So these are just a few of many benefits that came from effective communications. Manager can only reach organizational goals when the people in the organization are committed to the goals. People perform much better when they are informed and involved.
So let's proceed to the communication process model. So this model describes how the information is sent and received. So hindi na to bago sa atin kasi na-discuss na to during our elementary days. So this is just a recap. So the sender has the information he wants the receiver to know. But before the information can be sent, the sender has to speak it out or maybe convert it into text or print a text, chart, or graph given to the receiver. And the act of speaking out the information or converting it to a printed text, chart, or graph is called encoding. However, we need to have a channel or a medium through which the information is conveyed. It could be air, conveying sound waves when you speak it out, and it could be paper, conveying text and images, or magnetic fields conveying electronic signal. So when the receiver receives the information, he has to decode it. So kailangan maayos niyang i-decode yung message para ma-receive ng receiver yung information or the message clearly and correctly. After receiving the message, the receiver can send feedback to the sender. So yung feedback ng receiver, doon natin malalaman kung tama ba yung information na nakuha tama yung information na sinend ng sender sa receiver. Okay, so let's proceed to the common missteps in communication. So the first misstep can occur when the information to be communicated is not encoded properly. So nagkakaroon ng misstep sa pagbibigyan ng information kapag yung sender is hindi niya na encode yung message na tama.
Typical communication flows. We'll explore the 4 essential directions through which information flows within a communication. Information can flow in 4 directions. First, let's look into downward communication. Downward communication occurs when company leaders and managers share information with lower-level employees. Leaders use tools like speeches, blogs, podcasts, and videos to convey information. Every directives, instructional manuals, and company handbooks are common forms of downward communication. It helps update the workforce, provide feedback, and present official policies. Now, let's explore upward communication. Upward communication involves employees sharing their feedback, concerns, and ideas with managers and leaders. It includes tools like feedback sessions, surveys, and suggestion boxes, fostering transparency and trust. Next, we have horizontal communication. Horizontal communication is the exchange of information among colleagues of departments, at the same level within the organization. Team meetings, project collaborations, and casual conversations promote teamwork, knowledge sharing, and efficiency. Finally, let's explore diagonal communication. It involves communication between employees and managers across different departments and levels. It enhances coordination and fosters innovations by connecting diverse perspectives. In conclusion, the successful operation of any organization relies on a balanced combination of these communication flows: downward, upward, horizontal, and diagonal.
In topic 3, we will be discussing about the barriers to effective communication. Barriers to communication are the things that get in the way of a message being received. These are the factors or obstacles that hinder the successful exchange of information between individuals or groups. These barriers can impede the clarity, accuracy, and understanding of messages, leading to miscommunication or failure to convey intended messages. So managers need to be aware of barriers and how to overcome them to improve communication process. The first barrier is physical conditions. Physical conditions are barriers to effective communication refers to environmental factors such as noise, poor lighting, distance, crowding, and temperature, which hinder the clear exchange of information by impeding the ability to hear, see, or interact comfortably, thereby hindering effective communication between individuals. For example, loud and distracting sound in the environment can make it difficult to hear and understand what someone is saying. Also, poor lighting or insufficient or inadequate lighting can impede nonverbal communication and make it hard to read facial expressions and body language. Also, overcrowded space can create discomfort and make it challenging to communicate effectively. And also, extreme temperature can affect people's comfort and focus, potentially hindering effective communication. The second barrier is filtering. Filtering is a barrier that occurs when a person intentionally manipulates information before sharing it with others. This filtering process is often driven by a desire to present information in a way that is more favorable to the sender or to protect certain interests. Personal and particular experiences color how people view the world and how they communicate. In business, messages may be summarized by a manager and relayed through an administrative assistant who has clarified or edited the messages. Messages exposed to many filters should be repeated in various ways to make sure they were understood as the sender intended. The third barrier is selective perception. Selective perception is the tendency to either under-notice or over-focus stimuli that emotional discomfort or contradict prior beliefs. For instance, some people live purposely healthy lifestyle by frequently exercising and eating only nutritious foods but still smoke cigarettes. Psychologists believe that they are selectively ignoring that evidence that smoking is dangerous to their health. In short, kahit alam nilang nakakasama sa health nila, which is na maaapektuhan yung lungs and it also cause cancer, ay ginagawa pa rin nila kasi naging parte na ng buhay nila, and for them, mahirap alisin yon. Ang tawag sa ganitong sitwasyon ay perceptual defense. Selective perception can also be vigilant, meaning people are extra sensitive to things that are significant to them. For example, if a manager doesn't like a particular employee, she may be super critical of that person's behavior and notice every time he is minute late to a meeting, or siya lagi yung napapansin pag may nagawa siyang mali, or siya lagi yung inuutusan ng manager. On the other hand, a favorite employee coming late to work one morning might elicit concern that she had a car trouble. Siyempre, kapag may paborito tayong tao, magkamali man yan, napapatawad pa rin natin and laging may consideration. The fourth barrier is information overload. We have all been in situations when we felt that too much information was coming to us. When this happens, we feel overwhelmed and fear that we will not be able to retain any information at all. If the message contains information that is new to the receiver, then the chance of overload increases greatly. The sender should break up the messages into more digestible bits and reduce the amount of information that has to be observed at any one time. For example, a new employer may need repeated explanations before beginning an operation, whereas experienced employee may be scolded by asking same old instructions. The fifth barrier is semantics. Semantics is the study of meaning of words and phrases. You might hear one person say to another, "Let's not argue semantics," meaning he doesn't want to get caught up in unimportant details or playing with words. But it is extremely important in effective communication. There are some semantic rules in English that may trip up non-native English speakers, such as the concept of subject-verb agreement and gender pronouns. When your audience involves people whose native language is not English or individuals of different educational backgrounds, messages need to be direct and clearly stated to help ensure they understood. The sixth barrier is denotation and connotation. Confusion can also arise from the use of language by people from different educational levels, culture, and dialect. Denotation occurs when the literal meaning of words is not clearly understood by the recipient, leading to misunderstanding or miscommunication. For instance, the term lift and braces denote two entirely different meanings in the United States and in England. A Londoner might reasonably ask her partner if he was planning on wearing braces with his pants. Some words have a connotation for one group of people that is not shared by another. For instance, "that's sick" could be a compliment or an insult, depending to the listener. You probably already know that slang does not belong in written business communications. Fortunately, for all of us, paying attention to the context of the message often reduces confusion.
Emotional disconnects. One of the barriers is communications is the emotional disconnect, where it was is the emotions that disconnect its communications of the sender and receiver. Emotional disconnect contract relativisms that affect the communication. For example, when a person is feeling stressed or anxious, unexpressed concern in a more likely to be interpreted as relativism. And if there is a situations like this, it's better to postpone a communications to avoid misinterpret because of emotion stay. Credibility. In a communications, make sure that a message is a valid because tied to reputations of a sender. Also so that the receiver may not suspect or suspicion on the message. In other words, the truthfulness of a communication, regardless of a format, is heavily influenced by the perceived credibility of the source of that communication. Source credibility describes the sender's positive characteristics. This is the one considered by a receiver where it is checked whether the source of the message is trustworthy. This can be real experience, knowledge, and interpersonal skills. Message sent, but was it received? For this step, we need to verify if this message we deliver is received by the receiver. If the receiver understands the message we delivered, in these situations, the manager will gather and dispense the information by asking questions and collecting feedback. In a gathering feedback, active listening will enter where it is a communications technique that has been around for many years and that has been used successful in all types of endeavor, not as just business. As the name applies for focus of active listening as a tool for improving communications in on listening rather than talking. It is a process where the listener sets aside his own thoughts to concentrate more clearly what the speaker is actually saying instead of what is a listener thinks a speaker is saying. The advantages of active listening is that you convey that speakers that you care about them and their opinions. They become empowered to be more productive because they believe they will get an unbiased hearing. For busy managers, actively listening can be time-consuming and require emotional investment. You really have to interrupt your work to stop and listen. The speaker may become emotional during the attempt to clarify the communication, especially while you are learning the approach, but the end you will have learned the trust and respect the employee. At that is a worthy goal.
The previous section looked at common barriers to communication. This section will identify different methods or channels of communication and how to tailor a message to its audience. Business communication is held to a higher standard than everyday communication. The consequences of misunderstandings are usually higher and the chances to recognize correct are lower. And so, what is this business communication channel? A communication channel is the medium, mean, manner or method through which a message is sent to its intended receiver. The basic channels are written, oral, and electronic and multimedia. Within those channels, business communication can be formal, informal, or unofficial. Finally, communication can be rich or mean. Ano bang ibig sabihin natin dito sa communication? Communication to be rich or lean. Channel richness refers to the amount of immediacy of information that can be transmitted. What channels belong to this rich medium or lean medium? Oral communication depend on the spoken word and is usually the richest mediums. It includes face-to-face, in-person presentations, mobile phone conferences, group presentation, etc. These channels deliver low distortion messages because body language and voice intonation also provide meaning for their receiver. They allow immediate feedback of the communication to the sender. Written communications include emails, text, memos, letters, documents, reports, and newsletters, spreadsheets, and etc. Those are among the linear business communication. Electronic multimedia communication, on the other hand, allow messages to be sent instantaneously and globally. Let me present the advantages and disadvantages of oral communication, written communication, and multimedia. With that advantages and disadvantages claimed, which channel is the best? A good rule of thumb is the more emotional the context of the message, the richer the medium should speed to deliver the message. With that in mind, how can we tailor a message that will be understood and effectively transmitted to an audience? Paano nga ba? There are 3 factors involved in tailoring a message: the sender, the message itself, and the audience. Sender, paano ba mo ba gustong portray, ipakita yung sarili mo sa kanila? Serious mode ba? In a funny way ba? But we are talking about organization. So, given na the professionalism yung gusto mo ipakita, and studies have shown that an audience reacts initially to the demeanor of the speaker and not to what is being said. So, kung paano mo ipapakita yung sarili mo sa audience mo. Next is the message. So, you need to answer these following questions, like, which channel suits the content best? What do you want to achieve by sending the message? Does the message require interaction from the audience, or is it more information dump? Like, kung information dump lang, then leave lang with a message. No need to personally interact with them. And lastly, the audience. How big is your audience? Kung marami pa na sila, okay lang ba na sa text mo ba written ba, or text mo, gagamitin mo ba your email? What is your status of your audience? With that, on tailoring a message to an audience, you need to consider those. You yourself, how you portray yourself, the message you want to transmit or send to them, and your audience. Doon mo na mapapili kung oral communication ba gagamitin mo, written communication, or multimedia. You just need to choose what's the most convenient and effective and efficient to transmit your message. With that, sana may natutunan kayo, and thank you.